Adventures with Captain Ray Kelly. This is primarily a drone show. We'll be sharing adventures from all over the world. We hope to have interesting guests every week, and we're glad that you tuned in tonight. We'll be flying different drones in different locations. We encourage viewer participation in the chat. If you have a question, don't be afraid to ask. Every week we'll have another interesting guest. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. We'll be sharing various adventures by our guests as well as myself. And thank you for joining us tonight. Hi, welcome everybody. Welcome to Adventures with Captain Ray Kelly Live. And it's Monday night again, and I can't believe the time is just going by so quickly this summer. I don't know what it is. I guess I'm getting old. That's what it is, because I remember the old people saying that. But anyway, I see we got a lot of people watching already, and I got to say thank you to all of you that are tuning in tonight. I have a great show scheduled with a great special guest, Casey Sealock, and he works for Sky Elements drone shows, and he's gonna be one of the best guests I've ever had on this show. There's no doubt in my mind about it. I love drone shows myself. I have yet to go see one in person, but I watch them on YouTube every chance I get, and the shows that KC and Sky Elements put on are phenomenal. Really, that's all I can say, and he's going to tell us all about that when he comes in. But I'll tell you guys, I had a busy Friday and Saturday. I had two mini meetups, as I call them. On Friday, I got together with Jeff Norman, and a lot of you know who Jeff Norman is, and he invited me to go out and film a tall ship that was in Greenport here on Long Island. And he also invited Orly Bullock to come join us. And we met out in Greenport just prior to this tall ship leaving the dock, and it was really, really cool. I don't know if anybody in the chat's ever been on a tall ship or seen one sailing out there, but this is my first time filming a tall ship with my drone, so it was cool. It really was. And Jeff Norman and Audley are two great guys, so it was good to see them and fly with them. So, and then Saturday, I had the pleasure of flying with Rob Kamada, and a lot of you all know Rob. He's a Part 107 drone pilot, and he's also the pilot for the Syosset Fire Department. And Rob and I get together. He only lives 50 minutes from me here on Long Island, so we get together quite a bit, and it's always good to fly with Rob. But I invited him to go out to Shinnecock Inlet in the Hamptons. A lot of people know where the Hamptons are, and I told him I wanted to film the sunrise out there and the fishing boats, and he says, "I'll be there, Ray." And he was there. He got there a half hour before I did, and it was good to see Rob, and we had a good time doing that. And then we went out for breakfast, and but it was great. So I got in two little mini meetups this past weekend, and it was great. So, but listen, guys, like I said, I really appreciate you all tuning in. So let me welcome you in. And Joe Jaybird, he was number one, and Paul, he was right behind him, and Jody Drone Shots. How you doing? And Chad Windwalker Drones, and I see John Connecticut Pirate. How you doing? Good to see you. And Bud Beaver's in the house. How you doing, Bud? And I'm going up the list. And I see Warren Akiracho. How you doing? And JC Flying's in the house. He's watching all the way down in North Carolina. And George Kelly, how you doing? And Johnny Dronefly is in the house. How you doing, Johnny? Thanks for popping in tonight. And John Olson, another fellow Long Islanders watching. How you doing, John? Hopefully you were able to get your Air 2S repaired. And Lee Yellow Rose Jones, how you doing? Good to see you. And Rob, there's Rob. Rob's watching tonight. How you doing, Rob? It was fun flying with you on Saturday morning. And let's see who else is watching. John, Flying Flynn Media. How you doing, John? And I know I saw. Did I say John? Connecticut Pirate? Yep, I think I did. How you doing? And Paul Desert. How you doing, Paul? Good to see you. I used to work with Paul on the police department way back when. Good to see you, Paul. Let us know if you're flying drones, but welcome. But anyway, we also got Brian, Waypoint New England. He's watching. And Scotty, Jackrabbit FPV. How you doing? And I know it takes a few minutes to say hello to everybody, but it's important to me. And Al, South Florida Drone Flies. How you doing? Michael Belshi, how you doing? And Dizzy Dean, good to see you. But anyway, I didn't leave that much shrimp and lobster in the back room for the special guest. So I'm not gonna leave him back there too long. But I want to. I get back to the name shortly. I just want to tell you about another little meetup that I had when I did that quick trip to Florida last weekend. You know, I went down there, and a lot of you all met Steve Barnett at the South Florida Drone Meetup. And Steve is such a great guy. I used to work with him on the police department too. And I've been hounding him for over a year now that he's got to start drone flying. And I gave him a couple of lessons, and he ended up borrowing his daughter's Air 2 drone, and he started flying that around, and he was really feeling comfortable, and he finally made a purchase, and he bought the Mini 3 Pro. So that was cool. I really was so happy for Steve, and I know you all know when you got your first drone, and how exciting it was, and how nervous you were when you were flying. But I got to say, Steve, being that he's a new pilot, he did a phenomenal job on the flight down there in Jupiter, Florida. So I just want to show a little of that, and actually, I don't want to leave Casey in the back room too long. I'll show that a little later, and I want to bring him in right now because he's probably stuffed on the shrimp and lobster. So, Casey, let me bring you in, and I want everybody to give Casey Sealock from Texas a warm welcome. How you doing, Casey?
Howdy, doing well.
I
I
tell you,
appreciate it. I say
good.
I was excited to see the footage. Any chance to get out and play with drones is a blast. So I'm looking forward to seeing that later. And I mean, like you said, there's so much great technology out there now. I've been doing this for quite a while, and the fact that people can pick up something like an Air 2S, and I even use the Mini 3 Pro at work sometimes. In this case. Just the amount of technology and the ease of use and how easy it is for folks to get into it now is absolutely phenomenal. Because back when I started, the Phantom didn't even exist yet. And we had to literally build everything from scratch. My first drone was a flame wheel knockoff frame. Or no, it was actually a DJI frame, but it was the quad flame wheel with a KK2 board that you had to program yourself and learn all that stuff. And I mean, you order all the parts, you wait for it to show up for 3 months. You have to teach yourself how to solder and put it all together and figure out the programming and the linking and everything all together. Then you plug it up, something blows up, you order more parts, wait for them to show up. And it was a long process. So being able to grab stuff from local stores, or, I mean, sitting on your couch in your underwear ordering from Amazon and just having the most amazing little toy show up is phenomenal. So
Well,
great
I
to see
tell you,
people getting excited about it.
no, it's amazing because I know that you FPV guys that build your own drones. It's amazing. I find, and I'm not there yet, and I'm far from it. I'm very happy flying my GPS drones, but
Right.
I give you a lot of credit. I do. So you've had a vast experience, and you've done so many other drone jobs prior to working for Sky Elements. You
Right.
know, what are some
Right.
of those other jobs that you've done?
Well, I've been lucky enough to kind of be around.
If you want to talk about it.
Sure, no, absolutely. To be around the industry, being able to take something that started out as a hobby and developed into a passion and turned it into a career. So there's been a lot out there, and like I said, started out with just a hobby, learning how to put stuff together and make it fly and go from there. I grew up in a military family, moved all over the world, and lived in Hong Kong for several years. And I got into RC cars at that point and had looked at, my father was an Army helicopter pilot. So we'd always looked at the RC helicopters, but they were incredibly complicated and incredibly expensive. So that was an issue. And we said, we know we're going to smash this thing. So why are we going to get into it? And about the time that multi-rotor started showing up in magazines and internet, advertisements and things like that, it just kind of went, oh my gosh, have you seen these things? We both kind of reached out to each other at the same time and picked up a couple toys and started playing around with them. And I said, there's got to be more powerful and better versions of this. And it's been gangbusters ever since. So back in 2016, I picked up my Part 107 on the very first day that it was available.
Okay.
And prior to that, I'd actually been working at a drone retail store in Jacksonville, Florida. And we were a tier 1 dealer for DJI, and we did custom builds for film and television guys, and also did some of the FPV racing stuff for people. And I ran a couple chapters of multi-GP down in Florida, and we just had a really good time with it. When 107 came about, I went, man, this is the opportunity to make this a real job. And this is an opportunity to, really go whole hog and go straight into it. So I picked it up and was lucky enough to get on a contract with BNSF Railroad and do a lot of work for them for 3 years, crisscrossing the
Interesting.
country. Yeah, and I mean, I loved trains when I was a little kid, so here I was balancing trains and drones and learning way too much about both. And got a real good background, not only using what I'd known from building and flying for several years at that point, but getting into the mapping and the surveying and inspection work. We also would do the random job for marketing, get some amazing footage when we were out in places. And it's a real rough job when they say, oh, we're so sorry, but you have to go up to Glacier National Park for 3 weeks and fly drones in Glacier National Park. It's like, oh man,
I know.
worst job ever. Oh, don't throw me in that briar patch. Here we go. But yeah, it was absolutely incredible and a real neat opportunity because we were doing a lot of work with the FAA, and research for them on flying BVLOS and being able to integrate what we did into critical infrastructure and helping with the transportation of the country. So it was really neat. There was a big restructure there after about 5 years, and a lot of us ended up parting ways with the company. And I did a little bit of 1099 work for a couple companies, and then ended up working with Amazon Prime Air for a while on their drone delivery program, which was pretty interesting. Biggest thing I think I learned is that Amazon is its own planet, and you have
Okay.
to learn how to speak their language and follow their traditions and get into that groove. And after a year, I decided that I had other things to do. So moved on from there, did some work with some inspection work with power and distribution. So doing power lines and transmission towers and things like that. And continuing all the time to, fly hobby drones as well. I've always got a little FPV drone or 6 with me at any given time,
Okay.
just trying to get out and have a good old time, because the only thing better than a drone is more drones, right?
So you do fly for fun too sometimes.
Oh, all the time, all the
Yeah.
time. I especially traveling for work, everybody would laugh because we'd be out taking 10,000 photographs of a bridge or, mapping missions for hours and hours on end. And at the
Yeah.
end of the day, everybody's like, "Hey, let's go to the bar down the street." I'm like, "Oh no, there's a really cool park over here. Can you drop me off? I'm going to go fly." They're like, "We've been flying all day." It's like
Right. Right.
totally
Right.
different. Totally different. I drive my school bus for work, and then I go home and drive my little race car, for fun on the weekends, my sports car. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it was fun. And then ended up working at a FA testing center down in Corpus Christi, and we did a lot of work again on BB loss or remote ID and things like that. And then the opportunity came about to do drone light shows full time, and
We're going to talk about that in 2 seconds, but we do have a
absolutely
question for
sure.
you from Paul Brown. And he wants to know which is your favorite drone for flying, both commercially and for recreation.
That's a great question.
Good question.
It really depends on the job, to tell you the truth. The biggest thing that, especially getting into several of these different companies where the management may not have started in drones or aviation at all to begin with, was kind of
How you
explaining
doing,
that,
Vic?
hey, Vic, how you doing, man? Um, there's a real difference. You don't just buy whatever drone and then force it in, shoehorn it into that job. It's what drone actually works best for that. But that being said, so far my favorites to fly, I have to say I love the DJI M210. So the Matrice 210 was great for inspection and mapping and survey work.
Okay.
And then I fly a lot of FPV in my spare time. And honestly, my favorite is this little Synolog 30.
Right.
This little guy travels the country with me, and I fly it every chance I get. So again, I have my mornings most of the time free before we have to go do a drone show at night. So wherever I happen to be in the country, I'll go exploring and find a neat spot to try and throw some footage up on YouTube or Instagram or something like that.
Very, very cool. Very cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that was a good question. If anybody else has any questions for KC, let us know in the chat. I'll try to keep an eye out for them. But KC, tell us more about Sky Elements and the drone shows, because you guys just
Sure.
recently broke a record for the Guinness Book of World Records, right?
We did. We put the longest sentence using the most drones in the sky at one time. So it was pretty exciting. And I had
Yeah.
so many people say, "Man, I've watched like those Chinese drone shows, and they've got way more drones." I said, "Oh yeah, but it wasn't a sentence." So we hit that exact mark to make sure that we got in there. So it was pretty fun.
Congratulations. Yeah.
I appreciate it. It was a lot of fun. It was a real neat process, and the whole team works on it. We've got a great team here. Everybody really comes together, and it's neat because we have our creative team, we have our operations team, we have our admin folks that are kind of keeping us on the straight and narrow and putting us all together. So it's a really neat organization, and we have a lot of fun while we're doing it. So traveling all over the country. I just saw an article recently within the last month or so, I think, that said that by their count, our company is doing 50 to 60% of the drone light shows in the US right now.
Okay.
So it's keeping us busy. In fact, Vic saying hi earlier, he came and hung out at our show in Denver
Right.
right before
Mhm.
4th of July. And just around the 6 days, the week or so, right around 4th of July, we had about 7 teams crisscrossing the country, and we did 40 shows in 6 days.
Wow, that's a
Which
lot
was
of
just
shows.
nuts.
Yeah, crazy, crazy. But I was going to ask you this question too, but Bud Beaver
Sure.
beat you to it. He says, "How do you program all the drones for a show?"
It's a great question. Really, we're just flying really quick and using all 10 fingers and toes. And I've had to teach my beard how to control the drone. No, just kidding. Everything is pretty much computer generated at that point. So we have, like I said, we have a creative team, and they're actually working with the client to develop the images that they want to see in the sky based on the number of drones that they want in the show.
Right.
Once they create those images, then they have to animate from this image to that image, from takeoff to landing. The entire show is put together. And so very similar to how you can use programs like Litchi or DJI Pilot to actually put together a flight path, we're designing flight paths for each and every drone, and it's done in 3D rendering software and then exported as path files. So my job as a pilot is not necessarily to fly a drone in the manner that we traditionally think fly a drone. I'm actually watching 3 or 4 different computer systems during the show from start to finish, and
Okay.
I'm reading RF frequencies and battery levels and weather conditions and
Yeah,
manned
there's so much.
aircraft in the area, and I'm just tracking all that. Vic was laughing as we're sitting there kind of going through the computer stuff. He's watching over my shoulder, and we were laughing about it's kind of the matrix, because you're watching so much data running back and forth and back and forth and back and forth on the screen. But yeah, so it's all those path files that get sent to me, and then it's my job to make sure that the right drones get the right paths, and then that we launch all at the right time to get them up and running.
Wow, wow. There's just so much coordination that's involved. Really.
Sure, it
You know what?
really is, and everything from start to finish.
I want to answer this little question for Paul, the fellow I
Mhm.
used to work with way back in the day. And Paul, I recommend the Mini 3 Pro to anybody who's starting to get into drone flying. If you don't want to go that much, get a Mini SE. That's even a Mini 2 SE. What do you think about that? Somebody who's just starting to fly drones, Casey. What drone would you recommend?
Oh, agreed. I mean, for the cost, the point of entry as far as cost, ease of use, features, and just customer service, DJI really can't be beat. And I tell people all the time, I'm a subscriber to the theory of buy once, cry once. The DJI is maybe a little more expensive than some of the other units you may see out there, but chances are the other units are going to fail more often, and you'll
Right.
either end up buying more units or just paying for more repairs. And by the time you've done 2 or 3 of those, you could have just bought a DJI to start with, and it would have worked so much better.
Exactly. Exactly.
Um, and the biggest thing, my best tip for flying DJIs, as you're flying, if you get confused, if you freak out, whatever, if you just let go of the sticks, that thing has so much
Right.
more self-preservation instinct than you have piloting skills. It's going to stop itself. You can take your chance to go to it. And honestly, paying that little bit extra money for a slightly better unit is going to give you the features that are going to make that flying experience so much better.
Exactly. All right. Very good. And Paul has another question for you, Paul Brown.
Yep.
When getting authorization from the FAA for a drone show, do you have to provide a registration number for each and every drone in the air? Yeah.
Absolutely, we do. So every drone is registered. Each one's an individual aircraft. And then we have to have a waiver specifically for doing drone light shows, because there are 7 things within Part 107 that drone light shows do not satisfy. So we had to get waivers for, initially it was flying after dark, which that one's much easier to do now.
Mhm.
But we have the opportunity to do it without navigation lights, because that would completely change how everything worked. If we had strobes going off on every drone during the show, it would look ridiculous. So we've actually been able to come up with processes and methods approved by the FAA to notify other aircraft of our shows, to where we don't have to follow that. But we still do have to do waivers for airspace and all that kind of stuff too. So there's a lot of paperwork that goes into it. And in fact, I've got about 2 shows that I've got to get verified this evening after we get off here. So it's always working, but it's
Sure.
a blast. And
Oh
I
yeah.
play with flying robots for a living. I can't complain.
No, no, that's good. All right, good, good. I'll tell you, you can always tell when you got a great guest on because you get a lot of questions, you know. So
Sure.
here's another one from John K. What is the drone that is flown in a typical drone show?
There are several different brands for drones, and they are all specifically designed for light shows. The aircraft that we run don't have any cameras. They don't have a whole lot of extra sense and avoid equipment, all that. They are stripped down and designed specifically to fly the maximum amount of time that they can with that light payload. And that's all they carry. So the ones that I use the most is a company called Uvify.
Okay.
And you can't buy like 1 or 2 of them. Like everything that you do is literally a pack of drones. I think the smallest is probably like 50 to 100. And so it's a significant investment. So I was lucky enough to get caught up with a company that already had a lot of the hardware, and now we're getting out there and doing everything we can to break records and wow audiences with the equipment and the hardware that we have.
Very cool. Very cool. That's good. Hey, we got Chris Waters watching tonight, and Ronnie. God bless America. How you doing? And I'm sorry, guys, but I'm listening to KC, and I'm finding him so interesting. So I'm missing a lot of the comments. So just bear with me. But Casey, I had a question written down on my
Sure.
notes here. Is there a lot of training involved to become a drone show pilot?
Yes, there definitely is. Like I said, it's different than your normal flight. So it's not as simple. I mean, once people hear that it's computer aided and our pads are set and that sort of thing, everybody says, "Oh, you push a button and walk away." There's a
Yeah.
lot more to it, and there's a lot more involved. So as we go running through that, we're actually tracking all that. So we can give somebody a checklist, and that's the basics. But learning everything that you need to know, or a lot of the weird situations that come up with Wi-Fi networks interrupting, or radio frequencies not picking up, or drones not calibrating. A lot of times there are little tips and tricks that you learn. So even the folks that we put through our basic kind of boot camp,
Right.
they're continuously learning. And I had one of the gentlemen that taught me a couple of years ago at another company had told me that no one is ready to fly their own show for about 6 months, honestly, because you haven't seen all these different weird random things that can happen and have any idea how to respond to them. You can
Right.
never have all of that in training. So
Yeah. Yeah.
we speed that up a little bit, but yeah, there is quite a bit of training that goes into it.
Well, that's cool. We got another question from Chris, Sunrise Water Media. Are the batteries just lipos, or are they more intelligent?
Standard lipo batteries.
Yeah.
I have seen a couple companies that are starting to use more smart lipos and smart batteries in general. But I will say, to that point, that's extra weight, even though it's just a little bit. That's extra weight and extra, processing that you're taking away from how much power is in the battery. So if I can get another 3 minutes of flight time by not having to run through a BMS and not having to have an additional telemetry signal sent back to me on the smart battery, I'll take it.
Okay. Good. Good. Well, now I think would be a good time to show one of the drone show videos. So let
Absolutely.
me see if I can bring it up, and you can narrate over it if you want.
Sure.
And this is where they uh, they broke the record, I guess, right? So you talk about this because I found this so interesting, really.
Absolutely.
Everybody, this is Preston Ward with Sky Elements Drone Shows.
Yep. Preston Ward, that's my boss. So here, actually laying drones out, and we have to pull all the drones out and obviously check propellers, check frames, make sure that everything's together and ready to run, and everything's balanced and set up before each show. So you're just like you would check your own aircraft. We have to do that for each and every aircraft. This was actually our Christmas show last year. I actually flew this
Okay.
as the pilot, and this was in North Richland Hills, Texas, and this was 1,001 drones, all
Wow.
part. This is like the culmination of our Christmas shows that we've done all over the country. So we had it all set up, and that's me yelling arming in the background. But we had a low power FM station. That's me right there. Check it out.
Very cool. Very cool.
But launching off, it literally took up that entire football field. And what was cool was we launched from inside the football field, and the crowd was in their cars all the way around in the parking lot. So they could
Wow.
watch and see from the outside. And then this soundtrack that you can kind of hear in the background, we had that playing over a low power FM station. So everybody could tune into that radio station and hear this story while the images went up in the sky. And so the whole idea was that these children were trying to find the perfect Christmas star. So it was a whole story of getting on the train and finding the present and finding the star. And the
It's
animation.
incredible.
Oh, it is. And the animation that our teams put together, they're constantly innovating and constantly changing how drone light shows get put together. and it just blows my mind every time. The guys have come up with some really cool options that have allowed us to extend our shows a little bit, have allowed us to actually have more drones in the sky, and launch them and land them in unique ways too, that become part of the show instead of just get them up and then start the show. Everything is part of the spectacle.
Well, I think drone shows are going to become more and more popular. No doubt about it.
Absolutely, and right now, especially for our what we ended up doing a lot with 4th of July, there was especially out in California where they're having fire restrictions and they can't have fireworks. We're a great option to take over for that. Sorry, but I saw your question earlier and was going to respond to that. We do actually on our YouTube channel for skyelements.com, we have kind of start to finish of putting together a drone show. And it actually follows how we put together a show for the Super Mario Brothers movie, which is actually really neat. So that one's worth watching if you want to see some of the behind the scenes stuff.
Well, I gotta say that drone show was incredible. That's all I could say, really. And I don't know if you know this, but I'm involved with the South Florida Drone Meetup. We do an annual event down in Jensen Beach, Florida, and I think I had mentioned it to you. And I wanted to give you a personal invitation to come if you got some free time in April.
Sure, I'd love to.
It's going to be on April 6th, just to let you know. And it's free, obviously, but it's all about flying for fun. And we got 65 people signed up already that are giving commitments they're coming. And it's
very cool.
A long way off. So I want to give you your personal invitation to come, have some fun with us. But for the people in the chat that don't know about it, it's going to be on April 6, 2024 in Jensen Beach, Florida at the Jensen Beach Causeway Park. We've had it there for the past 2 years, and it's a great place to fly GPS drones and FPV drones. And it's really a great venue.
Absolutely. Put it on my calendar.
The coastal waterway. So, but last year we didn't have any drones go in the water, and that was a good thing. But anyway, like I say, it's free to come. Last year we ended up with over 125 drone pilots from all over the United States, and we had 2 come down from Canada, Jim Beauchard and Gary Foster, and that was great. And I just heard that Gary booked his flight for the South Florida Drone Meetup yesterday, so he's coming back.
Very cool.
Very, very cool. And then we got 2 pilots coming from Europe this year also. And that's another great thing. Terry Hawes and Steve Gardner, they're coming from Europe to join us. So it's going to be a good time. And these are all good guys. And I'm not just saying because a lot of them are in the chat, KC. They are good guys, really. And, Paul Brown, he's bringing his wife and his 2 kids. Paul Brown up there, he's up in New England, just to let you know. He has his whole family involved with flying drones, his wife and his 2 sons. And I think that's a great thing because we do have a focus on getting children involved in flying drones. And I have a saying, let's get kids hooked on drones, not drugs. So,
Well, so anyway, if you get them hooked on drones, they won't have money for drugs.
I know. It's true. It's really, really good. But let's get back to your drone shows. Tell us more now. I know you broke records with the amount of drone shows you did throughout the country on July 4th. I read that somewhere. Is that true?
I'm pretty sure we like I said, we literally did in the space of about a week. We flew 40 shows with about 7 different teams. So myself, I was up. We flew a show for the Chicago Blackhawks on the 28th of June, and then we kind of jumped in and ran across the country. So I ended up in Roswell, New Mexico for the 30th and the 1st, and then was in Los Angeles for the 2nd, ran up and did the show that Vic hung out at in Denver on the 3rd. And then we did a show on the 4th in Des Moines, Washington. And that was just my team. And then we had, 6 other teams kind of crisscrossing and jumping around. So we had several shows in California. Obviously, we always do a lot down here in Texas because we actually are based here out of Dallas, Fort Worth. So we do a lot in the area here. Had quite a few out in Florida. We do a lot of work that way. Vegas. We end up in Hawaii quite often, which that's always, really, really tough. Nobody wants to go.
No.
We have to fight for those slots.
Yeah.
But yes, we had a blast with it.
And it seems like you're having fun doing these shows too. I know it's work, but you have fun too, right?
Exactly. There tends to be kind of a lot of hurry up and wait in certain cases. We always say that we would rather have the time and not need it than need the time and not have it. So we'll kind of show up early and get things organized and get things put together and kind of relax for a little bit and catch a couple breaths before we have to launch. But once we get up there and going, then everything works out pretty good. And we've always had an absolute blast. How many employees? We actually do right now, I think, full-time employees right around 15 to 20. But we end up hiring several local folks. Like I saw Vic said in the chat earlier, if you get a chance, sign up to do drone shows. We do pick up locals because we'll send 3 or 4 of our core crew out to a show. But we can get a lot of local folks, like you said, kids.
That's good to know.
Exactly. If we can get kids that are involved in STEM programs and things like that out, we can show them a lot of science and processes like that. So it's a lot of fun to have them involved, and they've always got great questions too. Vic, you're asking for secrets now.
Yeah.
Getting batteries to remote locations is always interesting. The majority of stuff we do is drive. It's really hard to drive to Hawaii, but there are opportunities to get things out. You can't take batteries on commercial planes, obviously, at least not ones carrying passengers. But there are opportunities in certain cases for cargo planes. There are certain contracts and certain companies that will take batteries via plane. If it's somewhere closer, if we can get it on a boat and we've got the time, that's great. But not many people have that kind of time anymore in this day and age. So the majority of it is commercial cargo.
Busy.
Always.
It's great. At the South Florida Drone Meetup, we were so proud when 2 years ago we put 10 drones up in the air at the same time.
Absolutely.
And last year we broke that record. We put 18 up.
Outstanding.
It wasn't a drone show, but it was a little.
It's a show of sorts.
And there's a little coordination that goes involved. Is involved.
Yeah.
And this year we're hoping to break that record. So
outstanding.
But anyway, we have fun doing it. That's what it's all about. So. But listen, I do a little tip of the week, nothing real sophisticated. And this week's tip of the week is something that we more or less forget about, or at least I forget about it, is when I'm flying my drone, I tend to shoot mostly video. But when you're making your videos, use some of your drone photos that you take in your videos. It doesn't have to be all videos, guys. And Jeff Norman talked about that briefly last week. He's an incredible photographer. And, I learned talking to him, and it's just a little tip. And take it or leave it, Now, do you make a lot of videos yourself?
Not as many as I would like to, but I am constantly throwing stuff together. Everybody laughs. I think I've got about 4 GoPros, an Insta360 Go 2, an Insta360 Go 3, an Insta360 X3, and a couple other, my cell phone, everything else. So I'm always shooting footage, and then I'm absolutely horrible about getting it edited and posted anywhere. But I tend to try and grab little Instagram clips, if nothing else, and throw them up on my Instagram because getting up and being able to fly and share some of the neat spots I get to and some of the really cool locations I get to are great. And I'll add on to your tip. The other side of it is not just using the photos, but getting just a little bit of B-roll. So some, not necessarily behind the scenes, but while drone footage is neat, it's always a lot cooler if you can make it a little more dynamic. So if you do have a GoPro or honestly even your cell phone and you have it set up and get a quick little video recording, you can prop it up against a tree or a rock or whatever and get some footage of yourself flying or some footage on the ground of what's going on and splice that in with some of the aerial footage. It looks so much more interesting because you have different camera angles and a different dynamic. And it's a real easy, simple way to spice up what you're doing. Plus you get audio of what's going on that you can add to the video later if you want.
That's a great tip. It is, no doubt about it. You know, I'm a drone vlogger myself, so I do some behind the scenes stuff. Usually an intro and maybe a little quick segment in the middle of the video to break it up. But that's a great tip too. Don't forget about B-roll, guys. Yep.
Absolutely. I'll tell you, just one of my new favorite toys. I got the Insta360 Go 3.
Okay.
So
yeah, you like that?
Using it for vlog stuff. It's fantastic. It's small. It has a screen that flops out so you can actually see what you're doing. And this little guy is actually magnetic and can stick to just about anything you want. The side of a truck, the side of a street sign, and you can get some really neat footage with one of those setups. So this is my new favorite toy right now.
Oh, that's good. That's good to know. I know a couple of the guys that use them. Ron Lockwood uses one, and I think Dennis Lovelady uses them, and they all love it.
Oh, they're great.
They really do. You know, I'm a GoPro guy right here. But to tell you the truth, most of my B-roll is shot with the iPhone 14, and that's what I use. So, but
yeah, GoPros and X3s and everything else too. I mean, I have all this stuff with me, and like I said, I've got terabytes of footage that I am awful about just getting put together.
That's what happened.
Instagram. Somebody just asked the Instagram if you want to check it out. It's Eat, Sleep, Drone, Repeat.
Okay, got that.
Eat, sleep, drone, repeat, because that's what I do.
Very, very cool. That's good. I'm not a big Instagram guy myself, you know, but I go on there occasionally.
I love the YouTube videos, but it's nice to make these short little clips that you can just throw up. It makes it a lot simpler rather than trying to put it all together. So we do a lot of YouTube for our company for Sky Element. So being able to get up there, we like to have fun with it. We've got some really neat videos from the last 2 years that the company's been up and around. So we do a lot of the stuff for our shows. And then also we've been trying to do a lot more behind the scenes kind of stuff too, because people are real excited about it.
Yeah. No. I find I watch too much YouTube. That's what I don't even watch that much TV anymore. It's more or less at night. I'm watching YouTube. My wife's in watching her favorite TV show.
Yep.
It's almost. Everybody's asking.
I've never seen Game of Thrones. People just can't believe that.
I know. I don't know if I should have loaded Greg Pittman or not. How you doing, Greg? Good to see you. Yeah. And Kevin 0509, how you doing? Reptilian, good to see you. You know, I like to say hello to the people in the chat, but obviously
keep them engaged.
Our conversation is really going great, to be honest with you. I've never had so many questions for a guest, to be honest with you.
Outstanding.
You know, and they're finding this very, very interesting.
I end up spending a lot of my time at the show once we've actually flown. It's always nice when we have the crowd relatively close because kids, adults, you name it, across the board will come up. Hey, how does this work? And what does this do? And where did that come from? And how did you get that idea? And where did this go to? So my crew gets not frustrated. They laugh more than anything because they're sitting there packing everything up and I'm just standing there talking. Obviously, I'm very shy and I have a problem, enunciating and speaking all the time. But yeah, I'll talk to anybody about drones for hours on end.
Well, that's how I am too when I'm flying. You know, you're always, at least for me, I fly at parks, a lot of public parks in Florida, a lot, and people come up to you and they ask. They're very inquisitive, and I take the time to talk when I can, do it safely when I'm flying. Otherwise, I said, just let me bring the drone down, and then I'll be more than happy to tell you more information about it. And you know what I do too, Casey, is I offer them the controller. Do you want to try
Absolutely.
it? I hold the controller just in case, but I let
Right.
them. A couple of them have taken me up on it, moving the sticks, and
Sure.
actually flying the drone, and they were so excited about that.
Absolutely. I think it's great. I mean, reaching out and drone shows is a great way to do that because people are seeing, what they can do beyond just a single drone zipping around. But so many people are concerned about, their privacy or other issues that way. Um, we've had when I was living in Florida, one of my favorite stories about that kind of stuff was we had an older gentleman. We were flying at a park, and he came out and he says, "Were you the guys that were here last week?" We said, "Well, maybe, sir. We're here pretty often." He says, "Well, are you looking at my house? Are you coming and doing this?" And just all
Right.
sorts of very pointed questions. We said, "Well, sir, come on over. Let's show you." And we were all flying FPV. So we put a set of goggles on him and we took him up and flew
Hmm.
around and got to see all the, and he was just, "Oh my gosh, oh my gosh." And he was just absolutely amazed. And at the end of it, he's like, "Well, thanks. I appreciate that. And it's nice to see what you're doing." Then he got kind of quiet and he didn't really leave. And we're going, "Okay." He says, "Well, I live right over here. Do you think it'd be okay if I saw you guys out here again, if I could come hang out?" We said, "Yes, sir. Anytime. Come on
There
out."
you go.
So,
Right.
and he hung
Well,
out with us a lot. He was a lot of fun.
I mean, like I told you earlier, I'm not an FPV guy, but I do like doing a ride along. I think it's so
Absolutely.
cool. It is.
Absolutely.
And Al from the South Florida drone flyers let me do it, and
Very cool.
uh, Joe from Leo. He's not watching tonight, or if he is, I missed his name, but he let me do it, and it's just
Sure.
cool. I have to sit down though when
Right.
when I
It
when
took
I
me a
do it.
while. It
You
took me
know.
a while. It really did. And we actually integrate a lot of FPV in our drone light shows. So when you see the content that we put together, we will actually get out and we'll have not only someone we're using the Mavic 3 Cines, and then we also just recently picked up the Inspire 3 that we actually record our shows with, but we'll also have a 7-inch FPV drone flying through the frames and getting a lot of that footage, like our Super Mario Brothers show.
I
Man,
noticed that.
oh yeah, and
That's
that
becoming a big
footage is
thing. That's
so
cool.
dynamic. It really is, and it's been really fun because a lot with the DJI digital FPV stuff, we can actually give a set of goggles to the client as well, and they can see some of that in real time and give them ride-alongs, and it's just another tool that makes it that much more involved. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, yeah. No, no, I noticed that you're doing that. You're flying another drone in among the drone show drone.
Oh yeah, oh
Yeah.
yeah.
But anyway, Paul did write down the Mini 3 Pro, and it's a
Mhm.
DJI drone. So that's cool.
Oh, my advice on that, I went right along. The DJI Mini 3 is a fantastic drone for a starter. Any of the DJI stuff like that is very much user friendly. So absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think we got somebody else hooked on drones.
Hey, nothing wrong with
Very
that.
good, Paul. You'll love it. But anyway, any questions, just give me a call. But anyway, and I do. You had said that you just signed a pretty big contract too. You're not allowed to talk about it yet, but it's going to be in the New York area, right?
We're working on it. We're working
Yeah.
on it. So yeah, we should. We're always looking for shows, and New York has been a really interesting conundrum up to this point because they've been so anti-drone, and now that is changing, the rush to get into the New York area and get some shows up is pretty exciting. So hopefully we've got some big news to announce here pretty soon.
Okay. But Brian, Waypoint New England has a question, and he wants to know how long the drones stay in service.
Ooh, that's a good question. There's a lot of different things that can go on with that. So in general, I mean, we've got drones that we've been running for about 2 years as well.
Okay.
But you've always maintenance, maintenance, maintenance. That's what I'm doing here in Dallas. I actually just flew a show last night, my timing's all off. I flew a show last night in Hershey, Pennsylvania. And it was an absolute blast. And I'm here in Dallas tonight in this lovely hotel room that you can see behind me. And we are here for probably the next 3 or 4 days working on drones that we put through some heavy duty service during the 4th of July week, like we said, and we're finally getting some slow down time where we can go back through. So propellers need to be changed, motors need to be checked, some motors need to be swapped out. Unfortunately, they don't always stay in the air. So we do have some broken arms that need to be fixed and light boards that need to be calibrated and all sorts of different things that go into the show. So as fun as it is to plug it all in and hit a button and make it fly, there's a lot of behind the scenes work that goes on. So we've got crews of guys across the board. I've been teaching a lot of new folks how to solder. And so they're learning how to put motors on and take them off and adjust the light boards and literally strip an entire drone down and put it back together.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. Sergeant Rock has a question. Wants to know if there's going to be any drone shows in Virginia.
Ooh, we have done. I'm trying to think. Recently, we haven't. I believe we've got some coming up in Virginia Beach.
Mm-hmm.
I'll have to look at that. The numbers run into my head so much, but if anybody wants to look,
do you have the schedule? Do you have the schedule on the website?
I say on the website if we have public shows, because some of the shows do end up being for like private parties or corporate events and things like that, and unfortunately we can't have everybody show up to those. That being said, you can normally see them from about 5 miles away anyway. But if we do have public shows, they will be posted on skyelementsdrones.com. And you will be able to see anything out in that area that's up and running. So we encourage everybody to come out. There's a link on the website that says where to see a drone show, and we'll have all public shows posted as quick as we can.
I just put the link in the chat. So
perfect.
And while I'm talking about that, guys, if you're not subscribed to KC and Sky Elements, be sure to subscribe to them. And for that matter, everybody in the chat, subscribe to each other. That's what this is all about, supporting each other, helping each other. And any other questions? All right. Well, anyway, I want to show a video while we got a minute before I forget. And this week, I want to show a little mini meetup that Johnny had with Captain Joe down in Louisiana. So he just recently got the Air 3. And Johnny and Captain Joe went to fly. It's not sure. There it is, right? Oh, what's going on? But they flew to Madisonville Lighthouse.
Very pretty.
And this is a great place to fly. And Johnny says this Air 3 has an awesome range on it. That's all I'll say, But he had no problems at all going to that lighthouse. And it's I think 2,400 feet away, which is nothing really. But they had a good time flying together. And I was glad to see that Johnny got his Air 3. So
everybody loves that rocket lift up shot. That's such a cool shot.
I know. Tomorrow we'll have Top Down Tuesday in the United States Drone Society, just to let you know. And you can post your pictures there. And Paul Brown has a contest, which is cool. Very cool, Johnny.
We'll actually be doing a show in Baton Rouge, Louisiana here in the next couple of weeks.
Oh, really? There you go, Johnny, Captain Joe. That's right around the corner for you guys. Very nice, Johnny. But anyway, I wanted to share a little of that video. So, All right. So I'm having a little lag tonight. I don't know. I don't usually have the lag. But anyway, I tell you, you've been a great guest, Casey. Really,
I
I
appreciate it.
found it very interesting. And like I say, I'm hoping to get to one of these drone shows in the near future. I know my little village. I go to Florida for the winter, and the
Right.
village in North Palm Beach, they wanted to put on a drone show, and they had
Mhm.
reached out to me. I recommended Sky Elements to them. Hopefully, they did get a hold of your salespeople
Sure.
and price it out. I don't know how serious they are, but I do hope they have a drone show right in North Palm Beach, Florida.
Oh, we'd
So,
love to. It'd be great. We've done a lot in the Miami area and up and down. We end up out at the Fontainebleau quite a bit, and then out in Miami Beach and just outside. It's always easier to go out to Miami Beach because there's less airspace to deal with.
right,
But we
right.
still have to do permits with the city, so there's always paperwork when you're getting something together. But the
Yeah.
coordination's great, and it's such a neat area to fly.
Chris Hope is in the house now. How you doing, Chris? Good to see you. He's a fellow Texan. Good to see you. And Dusty, East Coast Thrills. How you doing? But the other thing that I do on the show, and you're eligible too, Casey,
Uh
is I
oh.
do a monthly giveaway. Nothing big. It's a $10 Amazon gift card. If you can guess the lucky number and you don't know it, so now's the time, guys, to put in your lucky number between 1 and 50 in the chat. And the first one to get it, their name will go in for the monthly drawing. So I'll try to keep an eye out. And it's amazing because somebody got it already. I don't believe it.
Wow.
Man, sometimes these things go on forever and I miss it. But I think Paul Brown, I think he got it first. It was number 24, just to let you guys know. So
Nice.
congratulations, Paul. Your name will go in the hat for the monthly giveaway. But anyway, Casey, like I said, you were a great guest. I want to say thank you for being on the show tonight. And I know everybody in the chat found you interesting. But now's the time for you to promote anything you would like to promote and
Gotcha.
say your
Well,
goodbyes.
for sure. Like I said, check us out. We are on every social media you can think of: YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, you name it. Sky Elements Drone Shows, and check out our website, skyelementsdroneshows.com. And the link on there will show you where you can see shows in your area if we've got any coming up. And then if you guys have any questions that you think I might be able to help out with, feel free to reach out. Easy to get a hold of me on LinkedIn and stuff like that, or my Instagram. I'm on quite a bit, and it's Eat, Sleep, Drone, Repeat. I also throw stuff up on YouTube. And I think that's about it. I'm on Facebook, but I don't use it a whole lot. So I'm in a lot of the commercial drone groups, and that's about all I do on Facebook. So, but yeah, feel free to reach out, even if it's email, eat, sleep, drone, repeat at gmail.com.
Very, very
And it's
good.
been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Casey. And thank you, everybody in the chat, for watching tonight. Um, I really appreciate it. I know Casey really appreciate it. John K says, amazing guest, Captain Ray.
Oh, thanks, John.
So, um, but anyway, guys, Monday night's a busy night. I don't know if the World Drone Community is going right on after me at 7 p.m. or Duranify or maybe even Pilot Institute. But they do shows at 7 p.m. And then we got the Grumpy Vlogger at 8. And then we got Drone Nation with Ron Brown and Marcus Crawford and DeMarco Moron at 9 o'clock. That's one of my favorite shows. So be sure to tune in to that 9 p.m. tonight. And don't forget about the Fly for Fun show on Wednesday with myself and Johnny Drone Flyer. And this week, it's all about you and your videos. So if you want your videos featured on the show, just send them to us and we'll show them on our show Wednesday night. So just get out there and, like our show says, fly for fun, but most importantly, fly safely. And we'll see you again next week, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Have a good night.